Well, this is Dateline News and Conversation. It's Friday, the 20th of February, 2026. I'm coming to you live tonight from Yalta. Local time, it's 8 o'clock. Back on the East Coast, it's noontime. We got to continue talking about the Epstein Files. And my guest tonight is a good friend, and he's an incredible writer, philosopher, theologian, professor. And his articles are very deep and very perspective. We're going to talk about Epstein and the files, the scandal that is really a distraction. A distraction of what? And who's behind it? My guest, he's back on the show, Ed Curtin. Ed, welcome back.
Thank you, Regis. It's good to be
Well,
here.
well, it's always good to see you and to have you back on the show. Um, you penned another incredibly powerful and profound article. I want to pick it apart. There's no way that we can examine all of it, but I'm going to put a link to that article in the description to the show because I think it's really very enlightening. But to start out, what did you mean when you said that this scandal is a distraction, and why, after 8 years, the FBI just released these files now when they no doubt knew about it, um, for the past 8 years? Can you explain to me what you meant by that this is a distraction?
Well, what I meant was that uh, obviously this has been true for a long, long time. The Epstein files are I compare to a movie and a movie's release, and movies are released. They have release dates that are carefully chosen. And just as in 2001, the big movie of the summer before the attacks of September 11th was Pearl Harbor, and an odd release date. The Epstein files have been, the government has had them, many governments have had them, no doubt. I'm sure the Mossad, MI6, the CIA, the NSA, all of them have had it. The FBI here, they admit they've had them for over 8 years. So that includes the Trump first administration, the Biden administration, and now the Trump administration again. So why now? Why are they being released? If you recall, a year or so ago, the Trump administration said they couldn't find the files there. They didn't seem to have any files, which was an obvious lie. Of course, they had the files. And Trump is named many, 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 many times, along with these other perverts and these people who are working behind the scenes. So why now? It seems to me, and I don't know, I can only guess, that something bigger is coming, which could be an imminent attack by Israel and the United States on Iran, or something else. We know that the Trump administration plays games all the time. They're not stopping their support for the war against Russia via Ukraine. That's a load of bull. And they want to take down Iran. So my guess is it's a distraction from an attack on Iran. Whatever form that attack may take, it could be just a kind of multiple pronged attack, not just a cruise missile attack and military attack, but scare tactics and economic sanctions and all of that. I just don't know, because Trump is totally well, he's bonkers, really. He's he you can't predict anything with this guy except that it's not going to be good.
I too agree with you that the incredible news that this scandal has created, not only in the United States, but really around the world. It's not a daily headline here in Russia, but it has been reported. And I absolutely believe that it's a distraction and a cover-up for what else is going on. Primarily, I agree with you. The imminent attack on Iran. Trump has sent 2 aircraft carriers with their accompanying destroyers, Aegis destroyers, that have both offensive and defensive missiles. I also think it's a distraction from everything else he's doing, including his, whatever he's calling it, his peace board in the Middle East, and a distraction from what's not happening with his demands for peace in Ukraine. And I think he's really backed himself in a corner, Ed. I don't see how he can come out as a winner domestically and globally. In Iran, if he doesn't attack as he's promised, he's given him now, I think, 10 days to make a deal, his deal. And it's not just about, a nuclear weapon or just enriching uranium for domestic use. It's really regime change. It's not even regime change. It's a distraction, because what he wants to do is the same thing he did in Venezuela, is take over their oil, petroleum resources. And Ed, if he has to back down, he's in trouble, I think, everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
This armada that he has now positioned in the Middle East, aimed at Iran, is costing the United States a vast sum every day that it's there. And the people who back the United States economy, that is the military and the industrialists, the war economy, they want those missiles and those guns used. They want them used because then they can make more money, and this is part of their game. And I think it's almost inevitable that he will attack Iran. It's a question of when. I learned a few weeks back from a source that the attack was coming a couple of weeks ago, but for some reason they held off, I think, because they didn't have all of these military hardware in the region, and he was waiting. But I agree, he's in major trouble. I think he knows that the midterm elections are already lost. Not that, the Democrats are good, but that his party is going to lose tremendously. And if he does attack and Iran closes the strait of Hormuz, the price of oil will go crazy, and the economy throughout the world and here in the United States will be a dead duck. I mean, it's going to be an absolute disaster. And Iran is no pushover. We don't really know exactly what kind of support Russia and China. We have a sense that Russia has helped with their air defense in Iran, and that China is providing radar and surveillance equipment to them. But we don't know how far. I don't think Russia and China are going to go much further than that. But Russia is in particularly threatened if he attacks Iran, and if Iran ever fell to the U.S. imperialism. So that Russia can't allow that. They just simply cannot.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't want to get into right now whether Iran can actually withstand any kind of an attack. I will just say that I think Iran has been prepared for this day for a long time. The 12-day war last year proved that they can strike Israel, and they have said, and you can consider this a threat, but it's basically a statement of a fact on what they can hit. And they can hit a dozen or more United States military bases surrounding them, up to 500 to 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers with the missiles that they have. Not to mention, they have missiles that can take down aircraft carriers. Now, I don't want to get off on that tangent, Ed. What I do want to talk about is who, as you said in your article, cui bono. Who's benefiting from this?
Well, first,
go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
The military-industrial complex and the financial people who worked with Epstein or who are part of his whole group, international group, they're the ones who will greatly benefit, not anyone, ordinary person, not the average person in the United States. Of course, no one in Iran will benefit from it. But these crooks that basically run the world from their secret hideouts. I mean, call Epstein's group a hideout, but everyone knew what he was doing, and they knew all these people who were involved in it. And now, the sexual stuff and the naming of names, that is a huge distraction. But it's a distraction from the war economy and the imperialist notion that we can attack anyone. And this war is the biggest maker of money throughout the world. The weapons industry.
And when you say cui bono, you mentioned the military-industrial complex. You mentioned the big banks, transnational corporations. But Ed, there are people that are not mentioned enough. There are millions of Americans who have blood on their hands because they have been investing in the military industrial complex and the oil and energy sectors. Lockheed Martin, Honeywell, Boeing, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman. uh, and the rest of them. There's a slew of them. They exist in every state in the country,
Right.
and I'm sure you're aware that right now the safest investments that are making the most money are these companies I've just mentioned and the oil and gas industries. There's Americans that are making lots of money promoting war and promoting this military adventurism that Trump now is conducting all over the world. This
Yes,
is
that's true.
this is to me deeply, deeply disturbing that Americans are putting profit and greed above genocide, above the massacre and murdering of really millions of people around the world to advance this agenda. Now, I want your comments on, again, who's behind it. Um, I happen to believe that in addition to the powerful groups that we've just mentioned, the CIA, the NSA, the MI6, and Mossad have known about these files for a long time.
Oh, yes.
I think I think they are not the only ones that know about these files. I think the Iranians know about these files. I have to believe that both China and Russia know about these files. And we've talked about why now. Um, well, it's to cover up what's really going on. Um, Ed, I don't know if you agree with this, but I don't think this is really about Epstein. He's not the center of the atom, he's not the nucleus. I wonder if you agree that he is just a cog, a manager in this global network of people, of institutions that have really enslaved and captured not only our attention, but our lives. What are your thoughts?
Well, definitely, that's true. He's just some, I would say, loser from uh, Coney Island in New York City, who has, through perhaps trickery or whatever, has been chosen, just as he was chosen once to teach at an elite school in Manhattan by a guy with U.S. intelligence connections. He is just a cog in the machine. He's obviously the Maxwell connection to the father and to the daughter is a big part of it, and we know who with whom they are connected: Israel and the Mossad. The underworld has long been involved in going back to the 1940s at least, uh, in this blackmail and this not only blackmail but this killing. The underworld supported the Zionists in Palestine going back to 100 years at least, and what the Zionists have done to the Palestinians. So it's all interconnected. It's just one big club in which they do the nastiest things. They're a very sick group, and you see it at the toppest level of the U.S. society. You have people, presidents of universities, head of CEOs, presidents of the United States. Exactly what they all did. Exactly. We know in some cases, who's this guy from England, the so-called prince? I know who he is. I'm just kind of joking. Who just got arrested? That's a distraction too, of course. So-called Prince Andrew or former Prince Andrew, and let the law take effect, says the king. Yeah, really? What are they going to do? What are they going to do? They're going to distract with more headlines about this guy. Isn't it sad? But it's the way it's been for so long. It's just so sordid and so disgusting what people are learning now. And again, I'm not sure how much the average person knows about all this stuff and whether it will make, none of them are going to go to jail. Maybe Andrew will end up in some country club for a month or two. I doubt it, but it's possible. But none of the others are going to jail. So it's a distraction for all of the war making. And what Trump has been doing here in the United States, in Minnesota, and throughout the country, his attack on immigrants, the murders in Minneapolis, his thugs with masks. It's a form of fascism, clearly, and his naming of everything after himself. The king has no clothes. It's a joke, but it's happening, which is the weirdest thing.
I'm kind of glad that I'm not there, but I am reading about it and watching different analysts who are providing video to what's going on. But what is being revealed, I think, and I hope, Ed, is the evil and the deception that is behind it all. I'd like to think that in the United States, primarily, people are beginning to question what the heck is going on. To me, it's unavoidable. When you see everything that we've been talking about, the explosion and the revelation of this vast network of powerful people all over the world, even in countries like Norway, their royalty, their politicians are being exposed. I think that was a good thing. Now, there's something else that I think we have to talk about,
Could I
and we
just
haven't.
interject? Could I interject for a second?
Yes,
An, an
it's your
example.
time.
It's an example of how this game is played. Just recently, it might have been 5 days ago, a week ago, or even less, former President Obama here said that he believes aliens are, quote, real. And then I think it was yesterday or might have been today, Trump says he's going to release the UFO files. Oh, you just have to laugh. So we have the UFO files on top of the Epstein files to distract people further. And the media report this stuff as if it's serious because they do the job of the government. And who's CBS or ABC or CNN or The Guardian, the New York Times, the Washington Post, etc. You can go down the list. The BBC, French 24, and so forth. They're going to reveal the UFO files. Now, people love this crap. They just love it. They eat it up, just like sex. If their favorite Hollywood actor or their favorite politician is exposed for violently abusing girls or doing something weird, people are, oh, they're so excited by it. And that's what this UFO stuff is. It's a continuation of the Epstein stuff, and it will distract people. And then, if the U.S. attacks Iran, most times the U.S. attacked a country, the American population was pretty excited by it. We go back to 1991 and George Herbert Walker Bush, the former head of the CIA, the man for whom the CIA building is named, attacks Iran. And it was known as the first TV war. CNN went nuts, and it was just so exciting for people to see, the United States finally get over the Vietnam syndrome. And it was pretty popular until it hits people's pocketbooks. And if this Iran attack occurs, it's going to be really bad. So we'll see what happens.
We're talking about now the complacency of the media, who are agents of some of these powerful forces. It's the media that communicates all of this to us. And one thing you didn't mention was sports. The Super Bowl, the halftime show by this, I don't know what the guy's name is, Bad Bunny or something like this.
Bad Bunny.
I never even heard of the guy. It doesn't matter. But it's all part of the role that the media is playing in the hands of these powerful forces that are trying to distract us. Ed, when you talk about the media, there's a lot. We could do another show just on the media. It's hard to believe what the truth is anymore. It's hard to understand what is fake news. It's hard for people to try to get a grip on everything they're being bombarded with. I was at lunch a couple of days ago with a couple of friends, and this one friend of mine said, we're being overwhelmed with all of this news that's coming at us from whether it be mainstream media, the alt media, everything on the internet. And this one friend said, for anybody not to be borderline depressed is extraordinary.
Oh, yeah.
He felt that most people in the world were not able to deal with this. I tended to agree. The media that we're talking about has really created the story, and they control the story. The rest of us have a really difficult time telling the other side of the story. You write these incredible articles. I do my little part. I don't have very many viewers at all. I wish that I had 200, 300,000 subscribers like some people do, who endlessly talk about and analyze the war in Ukraine, or endlessly analyze what's going on in Iran. And it's the same thing day in and day out. I don't get that kind of exposure. And I'm okay with that, because I'm lucky enough to be able to know people like you and to talk about some things that are really important that nobody else is. Ed, I want to shift now the attention to Donald Trump. You know, I'm watching Trump from the other side of the world. I don't read all of the mainstream American media. I don't read The Guardian. I see articles posted here and there, but once I read the headline, I just go, all right, I'm not going there. I'm not going to waste my time. But when I look at what Trump is doing, what he's saying, and how he's saying things, I see a person who is, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychoanalyst. I have some friends who are, and they have diagnosed this man. I'm just going to say, I think this guy is an egomaniac. I think he's self consumed. Uh, what I see him doing domestically has done nothing but divide the American people over a number of issues. What's happening in Minnesota right now maybe is the most dramatic, but it isn't, in my opinion, the most significant that is dividing the American people. When I see Trump basically proclaiming himself as the Lord and Emperor of the universe, imposing his tariffs, imposing embargoes, imposing even more sanctions on Russia, when he's claiming to be a mediator in a conflict that he's been a direct participant since his first administration. I have a friend that goes back many years with me. He said publicly that he thinks Donald Trump is doing a fantastic job. Ed,
Well,
I have a hard I have a hard time understanding that. Go ahead. What's your
well,
take?
you said you're not a psychoanalyst, nor am I, but I have two friends who are psychiatrists, one a psychoanalyst, and one of them thinks Trump's great, and the other thinks he's horrible. So there you go. People are split, though they may be changing their opinions about Trump. But the media is a very crucial thing, Regis, in all of this. There's I have a friend who wrote a book called "The CIA is Organized Crime." His name is Douglas Valentine, and the media is organized crime. Now, that may sound extreme to you. I'm not talking about all media, because this is media, what we're doing here. And there are some sites that publish my work and do other people's work that are very, very good. And they're not organized crime. But the big corporate media are organized crime, and they have been for a long, long, long time. And they're doing their job. They are spokesmen for the dark forces. The dark forces. At the end of this article that I wrote, I mentioned something in which I talked about symbols and their opposite, or the symbolic and their opposite. And the opposite is the diabolic, which of course is the devil. And what the media do is they tell these stories for the dark forces that rule the world, and these are the super rich who think they can do anything to anyone, to girls, to women, to people in any country, kill them, slaughter them. You probably remember back in the 1990s, your Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said, So we killed 500,000 or so Iraqi children. It's worth the price. It's worth the price. And what was the outrage? 500,000 children. And this is the Secretary of State of the United States. Well, of course, we shouldn't be surprised. Henry Kissinger was the Secretary of State of the United States. Look who's Secretary of State now, Mark Rubio. These people have so much blood on their hands, and the media always protects them. They always protect them. I was thinking about this this morning before we came on air. You could think of society, every society, as people banded together in the face of death. And because people are afraid of death, for sure. We're born dying. And as soon as we become somewhat conscious, we realize as we grow up that we're going to die. And so people band together, and then they create these myths. Look at the myth of the United States. It's this great, great country, but it's built on the bones, the flesh, the blood of native peoples. It was a slave state, and it killed and tortured and ruined the lives of so many people, places. But the myth, the story, is that we're great, we're wonderful, and this is because people don't want to really deal with the truth, the death issue, and the media want to cover that one up. They want to cover that one up at all costs because that's where their money comes from too. They're part of this Epstein group. Not that everyone that appears on TV and so forth is a child molester or a woman or a rapist. No, not at all. But the whole culture of the United States is decrepit now. We agreed we're not going to talk about the use of language, and you mentioned the Super Bowl and halftime shows, but this has been going on for a long time, and we have Hollywood, and it's Epstein is just an aspect of it. He's just an aspect of what has happened. There's something diabolical has entered into this sinister scene that we're looking at now and we're talking about. And I saw numerous articles explaining Epstein, right? Like how could this guy do this? How could these other people do these evil things? And no one ever really explains it. So let's say Trump, for example. You say they say he's a narcissist, which of course he is. He's an egomaniac, a narcissist. But what does that say? It really doesn't tell you much at all. If he attacks other countries and kills people, what does that mean? What is the source of something very bad is entered into the world, and we're dealing with it all around the world. And this is part of the issue between Russia and the United States too. People are depressed. They've lost faith in any traditional sense. Their heads are spinning. They don't know what's real. And this has been done to them by the media. That's what's happening.
You mentioned a couple of things. One, myths are the stories that we're told and that we live by. American exceptionalism. America is the vanguard for peace and spreading democracy and the defense of human rights around the world. It's a powerful myth. It's a powerful story, but it's the furthest thing from the truth. the other thing that you mentioned that I think has to be underscored, uh, you use the word diabolical, evil. I believe that what we are seeing is an epic battle of good versus evil. Right now, we're being overwhelmed. Ed, you're a theologian as well as a philosopher. Uh, there's no other way to describe what we're seeing, not only in the Epstein Files, but just in our lifetime with what the United States has done in Korea, in Vietnam, in Afghanistan. I'm not going to go into a list of more than a dozen countries where they have murdered and enslaved millions of people, not only in the Americas, but around the world. We're not only talking about Madeleine Albright saying that killing 500,000 kids was acceptable because it advanced the cause. We're not talking about Hillary Clinton saying with Gaddafi in Libya, we came, we saw, he died. Ha 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 ha. Secretary of State, that's who she was.
Yeah.
We're not talking about anything that the United States has done. Well, we are talking about it, which can only be described as pure evil. And now, on top of that, Ed, we're talking about the Epstein Files. I don't think there's any other word that describes what is going on as diabolical and evil. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree. Absolutely. And the question is, how did this come about? Okay, let's not even go, too far back in history. Let's just say the last 75 years. What has happened? Once upon a time, most people, they weren't depressed all the time. They had a sense that the world was okay, and even though there were wars and things happening, I use the term in this piece. I say I think a lot of it goes back to a Lord Nuke, nuclear weapons, and you know, and I know, and I think many people do, that we're teetering on the edge of a nuclear war, not just because of the Middle East, but with the US and Russia, the end of the START Treaty, and so forth. We could go through a long, long list there. But when nuclear weapons were created by the United States and justified and used, the only country to ever use them on the Japanese people, every form of traditional immortality, an answer to death that existed for people, whether it was theological, physical, through your children, through your achievements, through your country, etc. Every one of those was threatened. And no one wants to talk about it because it shattered the foundations, the psychological and social foundations of the world. And we're living with it right now. And it's there all the time. And people realize it. And they do realize, like, we have no protection anymore from death and from these madmen who could end the world in an instant. And you wouldn't see it on TV. That's the end of all of us. And it's very possible. It's very possible, and it's a shattering thing.
You know, Ed, I was like 15 years old during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I was in high school, and you were alive then. Uh, I was, all of us were frightened. Today, when the possibility of a nuclear holocaust, a nuclear Armageddon that could end all life on the planet really is an imminent possibility. As you mentioned, not only in Iran, that could be the shot heard round the world that ignites a global catastrophe. The possibility of a nuclear war between the United States and Russia has been looming over our heads for decades. I am more concerned today and really more afraid than I've ever been that the end of our species on this planet could happen tonight. And the only way that I can describe that is this is the epic battle between good and evil. Will the good forces in the universe, will the good forces that exist in the billions of people around the world be able to overcome this incredible evil that is threatening us? And I want to finish on this note because this is, I'm having a hard time dealing with this. When Trump was asked by a person in the media, uh, what he was guided by. He said, it's not international law. I don't need the Constitution. Uh, I am following my own morality. Ed, this is the statement, the statement that I think describes where we are today with Donald Trump acting like and posing like he is the Emperor Caligula of the entire world. Ed,
Exactly.
your thoughts. He said,
Well, let's
guided by my own morality.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It sounds like some lunatic on the subway who pulls out a machine gun and shoots everyone in the train. Why'd you do it? Well, I felt like it. God's whispered to me. Uh, what would Epstein say if we could put him here and say, okay, uh, why did you do this with these women and girls? Well, I felt like it. It was, not that he would ever say that, but as essentially, they're guided. They're nihilists. They're nihilists. I noticed and wrote about this that one analyst of why he did the things he did blamed it on Nietzsche. He is always very easily brought up because he's like the ultimate evil from the past, but people have no idea really what he was about or what he wrote about. Just like people in the United States, no matter what we think, they generally hate Russia. They hate Russia. And why do they hate Russia? Because they're living in this mythic bubble that was created from birth to wherever they're at in life now. And they think of Russia as just the most evil place on the planet, and Putin is the devil. He is the devil. I'm not saying that other countries and Russia don't do bad things. They do. But in the United States, people have imbibed. They don't even know they have this myth that Russia is this evil place, and the United States is the good place generally. And what do you do with that? How do you eradicate that? You have to find a new way of telling stories that will get to people at some level. I try to do that. I try to alternate political analysis with philosophical analysis. But we're little guys, you and I, and who the hell cares what Regis or Ed have to say? We do what we do because we must.
That's exactly it. And I've always said it's not how many are watching and listening, it's who, and what they do with what they learn. And you finished on the note of all of this Russophobia. I've been accused of being a Kremlin asset. I've been accused of being a Putinista. I've been condemned by lifelong friends and even family for attempting to discover the truth about Russia and the Russian people. And
Right.
I have to tell you that there's no breaking through, because the myth, the stories that they've been believing for 80 years at least, are impenetrable. Ed, I want to thank you again for the work that you do. I want to promote your website. I'll do that in the description of the show. But I want to thank you for spending this time with me tonight to look beneath the surface at who and what and why is behind the stories that we're being told today. Ed, my good friend, thank you.
Thank you, Regis. Thank you. See you next time.